Hey, it's Brooke and Jeffrey in the morning.
You can scroll it later, or better, you can listen live to Brooke and Jeffrey every weekday morning. Big fun, real moments, the laughs that make your day. Your station, your city, right now. That's called radio. In Seattle, that's called Moving 92.5.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Staying Power, a show that is all about building a better life. And who doesn't want a better life? I know you do. I know I do. I know the woman across from me does. And pretty much everybody you know probably does too. So every week we get together for 1 hour. We talk about one element of what it takes to build a better life. And we hope that it resonates with you. I am JDK Winnikin, sitting alongside aforementioned person across from me, my friend, business partner, co-host, excellent fellow conversationalist, Ashley Kniebel. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here. We're moving into spring.
I know.
Isn't it nice?
It is.
It is nice.
I like the little sunshine, when you leave work and it's still sunny out.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a nice indicator that we're moving into the better seasons of the summer.
And if you're a new listener, we are located up in the Pacific Northwest. So first thing we talk about is how much light there is.
Yeah, not warmth, just light.
Yeah, that part matters.
It's not warm yet.
Yeah, warm won't follow till much later, actually. But
yeah, like August.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, well, yeah. So it's great. I'm glad that that is coming. It's always kind of a nice time, right, of the year when spring is coming along. I think it's great.
I mean, maybe for you.
Why?
Because I never know what to wear. This is like cold in the morning, so you put on a lot of layers, and then in the afternoon you're like, oh, it's sunny, so naturally you want to like soak up some of the vitamin D.
That's
so you
true.
take some off, and then you're outside walking, and then it's windy, and you're like, oh, I should have brought my jacket, and it's in that weird stage.
That is
of
true.
What to wear.
That is true. Well, but better that than winter, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, it being springtime, actually, we start thinking about all the things. It's kind of like a time of kind of coming back to life.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
coming out of that.
And come out of hibernation.
Right. And we're coming up right on St. Patrick's Day. Right?
Do you celebrate St. Patty's?
I'm Irish. I'm quarter. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
Irish. My maternal grandmother was all Irish. And so, yes, it was always a big deal in our house. I won't say, the way it's celebrated today is most everybody just goes out and gets hammered.
Yeah.
I can't say that I really do that. However, it is a time where, you start seeing it everywhere, right? And there's commercials about luck and, gambling sites have deals and all this kind of stuff. Like, Vegas has specials come down in March, right, for St. Patty's Day. I always find that interesting. Do you consider yourself a lucky person?
I do.
Yeah?
I eat Lucky Charms from time to time.
I somehow knew Lucky Charms was going to come up in this.
But
right?
no, jokes aside, do I consider myself a lucky person? No.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Why?
Because I feel like the idea of luck that most people create is maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. Like it's luck of the draw. You either are lucky or you're not. And I don't think it's by random chance. I think luck a lot of times is created.
Well, so interesting that you said that, because that is today's topic.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
The idea of creating our own luck.
I didn't know what our topic was until I walked in.
Yeah.
So that's great. Great. Apparently I'm prepared.
You are prepared. Yeah, it is about that. I thought this could be a really interesting thing to talk about for the reasons that you just mentioned, right? I don't consider myself a lucky or unlucky person either, right? I am, as you know, I am very big on personal responsibility. Right? Taking accountability. We have choices. Every choice we make or don't make has a consequence. There's no such thing as a complete human experience. So as we choose one thing, we are choosing not to have another thing, right?
That's right.
That kind of thing. But I think this idea is really kind of important, because I think we can get really, we being the collective we, can get caught up in this idea, oh, I'm really lucky with this, or I'm really unlucky.
Sure.
With this, as if it happens outside of us.
I think it depends too on what you mean. Of in an instant moment, I may think like, "Oh, I'm so lucky because this happened." At any given moment when something exponential happens that I wasn't expecting, that I don't feel like I did anything to make happen, then I feel lucky.
Sure.
But to just over a general blanket of like, are you a lucky person or not? I don't think that's really fitting.
Right.
I don't know if anybody actually that would think they're a lucky person.
Yeah, not in that way. And if they did, I think we would have a lot to say to them about it. I agree with you. But those things that happen where we go, wow, I can't believe that happened. Something random, something out of the blue. Is it lucky? Maybe. Could be a blessing too. It could just be a really fortunate thing. It could be so many things. Because luck at some level is an assignment. It's a creation. It's a story, right? And you and I are very much about recognize the stories that that are not serving us. And I don't know if the whole idea of luck or unluck, lucky or unlucky, is really either way a story that really helps us out, right? Even though some people can sure seem luckier than others.
Sure. Yeah, you see them on social media or they're people you know from a distance and you're like, they are so lucky because they have it all together. You know, maybe they have like a huge house and they have a great job and they're very wealthy and they go on vacations and they have the perfect family and, you know, all their animals get along and all the weird, you know, whatever things.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, they just must be lucky. Look at them because everything that I see of them looks perfect.
Right. Of course, you could also then digging just under the surface of that is like maybe they worked really hard for that.
Right. Yeah. Right. You didn't see like the 20 years it took for them to get there. You just met them modern day.
Right. Exactly. And social media so often is just, you know, you're more meeting people's representatives than you are meeting the real person. Yeah. But yeah, who is like, based on this criteria, who is the quote unquote luckiest person you've ever met? This idea of just like, is it
under that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've met people.
Mind? Yeah.
I mean, I like dropping a name probably wouldn't be recognizable.
You don't need to drop a name.
But I have met people that seem to have like the perfect life, so to speak, from what I have known and what I've seen. And I was like, wow, like so excited and happy for them. And I do know that there was work that went into it, but even still, like the amount of quote unquote work that I have bore witness to, I'm like, that's all it took.
Right.
Like maybe you just happened to meet the person that, you know, was also equally lucky. So then all these opportunities open up for the both of you and whatnot. And and then I see the flip side of that with other people that work really hard but don't get those opportunities. And so I'm like, are they deemed unlucky?
Right.
Maybe they worked just as hard or harder and yet they didn't get those.
Right.
That is where then I'm like, well,
and it might depend on what you're looking at. If you're looking at financial wherewithal, maybe that you measure those things side by side. Somebody seems not as fortunate or not as lucky. Health could be another one. You know, those types of things. I had a colleague a number of years ago who had gotten in really early on investing in, let's just say, one of the top tech companies in the world, alongside one of the top what became one of the top medical companies in the world early on, and had seen their stocks that he was a part of split multiple times and had made an enormous amount of money off of that and was only working because he was bored otherwise. Right. He does. And I remember I was saying, okay, that's amazing. Right. Just happen to get on the ground floor. And these are names everybody would know.
Sure.
Right. You know, that kind of thing. And yet, you know, and I never begrudged them that. I mean, that's great. Right. That's all wonderful. And yet it can be really easy if you're not one of those people to go, oh, how come that works for them and not for me? Why are they so lucky? And that we immediately can drop into that, because then what ends up happening, I think can be a real problem, is we start stepping outside of our own ability to shape our own circumstances, or we start attributing those things to something outside of ourselves, right? Which of course things that happen outside of ourselves all the time. But I think what I want to talk about today is actually the idea and the science behind making your own luck. We actually have a lot more say in our quote unquote luck than we think we do.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking we'll talk about today. How's that sound to you?
I think we should get into it.
Okay. All right. Well, then I love that you mentioned Lucky Charms. Did you eat those as a kid?
Of course.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite of the marshmallows?
No. I mean, I thought they all tasted good. I know everyone likes the rainbows or whatever, but
rainbows are newer.
Are they?
Actually. Yeah, the rainbows are newer. When I was younger, it was a huge deal. Of course, this is a long time ago. It's a huge deal when they added the purple horseshoes. That was like the biggest thing going for a while. I mean, it was It was the topic of discussion at school,
No.
man. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the purple
Really?
horseshoes getting added in. Yeah, they're standard now. But
So when I ate them as a child, I did not know that things were either added or not. So I just knew that there was like really tasty marshmallowy type of things in my cereal, and it was sugar, and it all tasted great. So I was just very excited whenever I had them.
yeah,
They were not purchased very often in my household, and
mine either.
I'm not. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I grew up on like Cinnamon Toast Crunch and
Oh.
Honey Nut Cheerios, so I was very well taken care of as a child in the cereal department. But sometimes, as an adult, I'm like, we got Lucky Charms so few and far between, and I'm like, why were we not given those more often? And sometimes I grew up in a very conservative, like Christian household, and sometimes I'm like, is it because they were lucky
Oh,
that my
like
parents
charms.
were? Yes, right. Like
Right.
the ideology behind like a Lucky Charm that wasn't a thing in my house. And so I'm like, is
gotcha.
that why I didn't get to eat Lucky Charms? So when
Gotcha.
I did get to, it was a huge deal.
Gotcha.
So I didn't really care what was in there,
Yeah.
horseshoes or little clovers or rainbows or whatever. It was
Yep.
just delicious.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to have fun, like moving I would separate all the marshmallows into like groups of them.
You
So
did?
Put all the clovers together, all the horseshoes
God.
together, the diamonds together. Yeah.
I always did make sure for mine, like if I was going to take a bite of the cereal, like at least one of the marshmallows had to be in it.
Of course.
You know, I
Of
couldn't
course.
just eat just the regular.
That's
That's like Cheerios.
That's just the oat
Hello.
part. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
That's not the prize.
What would you do when you saw a rainbow?
The rainbows were later. So the rainbows didn't come in until I was a lot older. So I don't think I was about as excited about it
Really?
then, I think. Yeah.
Did you think that there was a little treasure on the end of it or no?
What, in the cereal?
No, when you see like a real rainbow.
Oh, real rainbow. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about the pieces in the cereal. I don't
No.
know how we got diverted onto this, but nevertheless,
Because don't you ever think there's like something at the end of a rainbow?
I always wondered. Yeah. Yeah. But and I saw a lot of rainbows as a kid. I lived in Hawaii. So
I
they
was
were
gonna say you probably saw a lot.
they were like
yeah.
a regular thing.
No leprechauns.
No leprechauns. In Hawaii they had menehunis. That's what they were called. Menehunis. Yeah. That's what they're called. They're like little good luck Hawaiian leprechauns.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
That's probably really reductionist in a lot of ways. They're a lot more than that. So all
That's
my
just
Hawaiian
the
friends,
very
leave me
sweet
alone.
little
Don't
name.
come at me.
I like that.
Yeah, the menehunis. In fact, one of the schools I went to as a kid, like the school mascot was the menehuni.
Really?
The Waikiowaina
I feel like that's
menehunis.
such like a cute, endearing name.
It is. It's pretty funny. Someday when I have a dog, maybe I'll name it menehuni.
Oh my gosh, that'd be a great animal
Yeah,
name.
it'd be good.
Okay, we're
Anyway,
so off track.
We're off track, but that's okay. However, these symbols are all over the place, right? We just mentioned a bunch of them: leprechauns, luck at the end of the rainbow. This
Menehunis.
is and Lucky Charms. I mean, it is. And then of course there's all sorts of candies now. You can get everything in 3-leaf clovers, 4-leaf clovers, all that kind of stuff. So it does have an effect. We've talked about before on the show in different contexts what holidays can do. They can set expectations. They can kind of be these things that we target for like the next thing that we're going to do and all that. And of course, St. Patrick's Day has moved way beyond its historical roots now, right? And it's something where everybody wears green. And by the way, nice job wearing green.
Thanks,
today.
I'm wearing green.
I did not adequately prepare, but I know despite being Irish. So you have green eyes too. So
I do have green eyes, and that's the only Irish part of me. I'm not Irish at all, but I have green eyes.
Gotcha. Okay, so when you say, and to kind of kick off what we'll talk about after the break, that's coming up in a few minutes, when you say people make their own luck, what do you mean by that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I would say people that make their own luck, quote unquote. I feel like they are a more positive prone person, or they tend to look for the positive. Like they have an innate belief that there is good out there and they are worthy of obtaining it. Not self-deserving, but like they're a good person. They do good that they think like maybe if I do some good will come back to me type of thing. And I do think people who tend to find more opportunity or luck, they put themselves in places and environments where it might be found. I don't think somebody who is a recluse at home is a lucky person because there's no
Right.
opportunity at home. What are you going to do? Find
Right.
your new blanket? Like
Right.
you got to be out where opportunity resides, and it's out in the world. I think it's just people who are willing to try new things, meet new people, and leave the expectation wide open of what may come at them and what might be assigned to that is people who are looking for opportunity, and we might deem lucky.
Right. Because, of course, what we could call lucky in that context is simply opportunity realized into some sort of reality, right? Absolutely. I think I wholly agree with you. And interestingly enough, the science agrees with you too. And the sociology agrees with you too. Absolutely. That has been shown to be the case, that people who are spending time connecting with others find themselves in more quote unquote lucky situations than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You just, without knowing it, you just essentially quoted all of the research, some of the best research on this. My favorite is Richard Wiseman's research on all this. He did research on so-called lucky and unlucky people, and he found some key differences. And the first one was lucky people notice opportunities. The second one
makes sense.
was lucky people talk to more strangers.
Oh my gosh.
Right? 3, you said it at the top. They expect good things to happen. They're positive, right? The other two characteristics he identified, people who are quote unquote lucky act on intuition.
Oh, I like that.
They don't wait for necessarily a ton of evidence. They act on intuition. And I thought this was really interesting. Turn so-called bad luck into learning.
Oh, that sounds like us.
And they continue. Yeah.
That sounds like something we'd say.
Yeah, it does sound like something we'd say. Right. Now, the flip side of that, right? Unlucky people, they miss peripheral opportunities because they're very narrow focused. So they miss what's outside of them. They tend to ruminate on negatives, right? We can all do that, right? So kind of going, why me? And then this is a big one. They assume outcomes are fixed. Like they just have to be found rather than created. Like they're already out there somewhere and they either happen or they don't, rather than they have to be created and they only happen in that moment, right?
Okay.
So essentially what we're getting at is luck correlates strongly between mindset and the behavior that we take off that mindset. All right. So, okay. Nice job, Ashley. Without even knowing, you're like Richard Wiseman, right?
Well, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take our first break here on Staying Power. And when we come back, we'll dig more into the science of this. And also we will have our weekly segment which this week is 2 minutes of triumph. I know. Excited about that. So stick around. We'll see you here in just a minute back on Staying Power.
Imagine home. The smell of coffee, the sound of a lawnmower, the sun's warmth on your face. Free to be yourself, surrounded by love that helps you grow. This is a place to call home. That's an American dream we all deserve. But in 50% of U.S. states, you could legally be denied housing if you are LGBTQ+. Get the facts and hear real stories at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Don't ask me to talk.
There's a lot of talk out there. Political talk, sports talk, girl talk, trash talk, and so on. But there's only one, Don't Ask Me to Talk, helmed by conversational off-roaders and podcast pals Eric Ryder and Stacey Heller. They follow every tangent they encounter, from cultural blind spots to their infamous weekly Wheelo topics. Listen wherever you listen to your fave podcasts. Subscribe and share too. Or tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. or Tuesday at 4 p.m. on KKNW.
Some people know a good thing when they hear it. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
And we are talking this week about luck, specifically how we make our own luck a lot more than we can make it a lot more than rather just wait around for it. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. And so far, Ashley's just been on top of it, ahead of the game here. So, and we had a nice conversation about Lucky Charms over the break too. That was nice. Anyway, all right. Before we get back into that, though, it is time for our weekly segment where Ashley and I each take a couple minutes to talk about something that happened in our week, how we responded to it, and all in the name of being vulnerable and connecting, all those things that are so important to building a better life. So here we go. This week, it is 2 minutes of triumph.
Bingo!
All right. Bingo. All right,
always
Ashley.
Something.
There it is. Go ahead.
I bought a succulent. Are you
This was the triumph? You bought a succulent?
Yeah.
Why is this a triumph?
Because
This is
I'm
amazing.
trying to put it out there that I'm going to keep it alive and I'm going to be a good plant mom.
Oh, are you a black thumb? Like,
Excuse me?
Do you kill plants?
Not intentionally.
Well, not intentionally.
Wow.
Very few people do, but
Dare you say that?
like,
I mean, it depends on the plant and it depends on the environment. But
Okay.
I needed a little extra life around, and so I bought a succulent. So I think it thinks it's a triumph because it got taken home. But
there you go. There you go. Well, those are pretty hardy.
yes,
Plants,
that's
usually.
why I'm like, I think we're gonna get along. I think I'm gonna be a good plant mom. I'm excited. It's so cute. It's like very lively looking. It's very green.
Yeah. What what kind is it for those? You don't know.
Sure. I can post a photo on.
You should post a photo.
But
Did you name it?
Company at work? Not yet. It's very new.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he'll be my lucky charm. I don't know.
Gotcha.
What did you say that thing was earlier?
A black thumb?
No.
What? A lucky charm? A horseshoe?
No. What are those things called from Hawaii? How do
Oh,
they...
Manahoonie's.
Maybe we'll call it that.
That's pretty good.
Right?
Okay.
So
All right.
we'll see.
So,
anyways, I'm excited.
because
I haven't had plants around in a while.
oh, okay. Because they tend to not survive.
Yeah, I mean, where I live, I don't get a lot of sunlight where I'm at, and they need that for most plants. And so in my office, I think a succulent will actually do okay, and they live a long time. And yeah, they're kind of, like you said, a hardy plant. So I think they're so cute and little, and they just make me smile. So, anyways, I have a succulent. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, we need succulent updates as we go forward. That'd be funny. Okay. All right. Well, mine was, I had one of those cool moments that most people have them at some point, but they always, when they happen like this, they're always really exciting. So the other day, I'm just straightening up my room, right? Cleaning, putting stuff up in the closet, folding laundry, that type of thing. And I went into my coat closet, right, to go, okay, what coats have I used and have I not used in a while?
Coat closet?
I do. I'm a bit of a clothes horse. You know this about me. I know you know this about me. So I went into the coat closet to see if there's any ones I need, I'm not using. I need to give them away. And I found a couple. I'm like, okay, I don't really wear this. I probably could go ahead and give this away. So I found one and I pulled it off of the hanger. Mm-hmm. And of course, you do your due diligence. Make sure there's nothing in the pockets, right?
Yeah.
I reach into the pocket of this thing and I pull out a $100 bill.
What?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I'm telling you, I don't think I've worn that jacket in like 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the last time I wore it was on a European trip, and that was a while ago. And
so is this American money?
It's American money.
Okay.
It's American money. And I think I wore it on the way home. And the only thing I can think of is when I converted all my European money before I came back into dollars, and I still had a $100 bill in there. That was awesome.
I love that feeling.
Yeah, I know. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, and it kind of fits with today's topic,
Yeah.
right? In that sense, is that a moment of luck? I suppose.
I don't know. You would say it could be preordained.
I suppose
because you put it in there.
I did put it in there, which was unlucky 4 or 5 years ago because I went without $100, but it was kind of fun. I love in moments like that. So that was my little triumph. I had little gift in a jacket I was about to get rid of.
Very cool.
And then I was imagining, could you imagine if I turned that in somewhere and they're cleaning it up and find $100?
Well, that would be lucky for them.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, that's my triumph for the week. All right. So back to making our own luck. And Ashley, you and I think it's safe to say we're on the same page with this idea of we tend to make our own luck. And I like how you pointed out that it has everything to do with opportunity and then our pursuit of that. And I think there's something here I'd like to talk about that I call the agency trap. Okay. We're all about agency, right? Mm-hmm. And all about the capacity to make choices and things like that. If we believe that success is equated to luck, right? And that opportunity is equated to fate, right? And timing is equal to magic, right? We disengage from our own agency. Right? We take the locus of control away from ourselves and we put it out somewhere else. Because if you think of those things, luck, fate, and magic are all external. And they're all things that we aren't able to explain. They're all things that have fueled literature and storytelling forever, right? Since the very beginning of things. Even the ancient Greeks were talking about this is not fate, right? But but even in their mythology, there's the fates, right? And every culture has stories of purveyors of luck. We mentioned leprechauns; they're the most famous, right? So if we put the focus outside of ourselves, we lose that agency. But if we bring it back in the way you're talking about, it's not just a pursuit of opportunity; it's more persistence rather than passivity, right? So this idea that luck is something that happens external can actually reinforce the very things that make quote unquote luck possible, right? In all of that, right? So how people create luck, right, is really what we want to talk about here. When did you start really kind of seeing luck the way you described it, as we tend to create it?
I would say probably maybe my early to mid 20s, when certain things just didn't happen. You know, you just kind of think that life goes the way that it was painted to you when you were raised, or in your own mind what you decided was going to happen. Because
fate didn't happen.
Yeah, fate didn't happen. And then you think like, well, why did it not happen? And you're like, well, I must be unlucky because it didn't happen, because I thought that's what happens. But then the idea of like, well, I'm unlucky because it didn't. So that means only those who it does happen to are lucky. So it's not everybody. It must be a chosen few.
Right.
But then when you're sitting there and you see the rest of your circle get those quote unquote things that you thought were lucky, then you really think, well, the amount of unlucky people must be very few, and I must be part of that.
Right.
Which is not a great feeling.
No, it's not. And you and I both grew up in very religious environments, and you can get the added element there that if you're being successful and you're being quote unquote lucky, you're doing things the right way.
Well, and there's also, especially if you grow up in a religiously heavy household, then it's like, well, there is no such thing as luck. You're supposed to pray about it.
Right.
And
if
it's a blessing, and if it's supposed to happen, it will.
Right.
And if it doesn't happen, then it wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
And I have always felt a very knee-jerk response to that of like, I don't believe that, you know, like,
yeah, you and
it
me
just
both.
didn't sit right. And so I would say I was about that age when I experienced that really for the first time, just because I was getting more world interaction and perspective and reality checks.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, it's not all Disney. It's not all, you know, like just laid out and everything just falls into place.
Right.
And that's when it finally dawned on me that some things may fall into place, but most often it takes something from you first.
Yeah.
You must give.
Yeah.
You must do. You must act. You must put yourself in the way of luck. Maybe luck is flying all around all over the place, but you got to be in the way of it so it hits you.
Right. Opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. I have to say you're very fortunate that you realized this early in your 20s. I didn't realize this until late in my 30s. And I actually think that some of what we were talking about and my disappointment of not having things work out the way they were supposed to fueled my old addictive behavior once upon a time. And so for me, on the crash side of that is where I started to learn about what my agency was. It's like, okay, well, hold on. If everything I believed beforehand and was doing beforehand and thought beforehand led me to this absolute wreckage, maybe I need to be open to doing things a little bit different. And the key word in there was doing things different. And by doing some things different, I eventually began to believe different. I began to see things differently, because as I acted on my own behalf and connected with myself and connected with more people, more opportunities, in this case, for healing, growth, seeing things in a new way, getting a sense of my own values began to emerge after that. But it wasn't until really about, I want to say about 7 years ago, that this all really clicked for me. A friend of mine introduced me to one of what has become one of my favorite books, even though it's very dense. Joseph Campbell's The Hero with 10,000 Faces. I don't know if you know this book. Joseph Campbell, a writer, philosopher, he wrote in that book about the hero's journey, right? And about how almost every great story, about how every great story has a hero's journey kind of in 3 acts. The best way to describe it is like Star Wars is the classic hero's journey. You have the originally reluctant hero, Luke Skywalker, right? Motivated, big dreamer, but he doesn't really want to get involved. And then something happens, unfortunately, usually a challenge, to drive the hero into reluctantly stepping out. And of course, in that case, right, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru get killed, and he leaves with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the adventure takes off. And then through that story, he discovers things about himself, the hero does, that he didn't know. Other challenges come about. And then usually in the second act of the story, there's some gigantic challenge that brings the hero down to a really low level. And then the third act is them overcoming.
Okay.
Right? Him getting caught on the Death Star would be the second act, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi getting killed, the low, and then the high in the third act of destroying the Death Star. Hero's journey complete, right? That's not exactly what we're talking about with luck, but there was a documentary about Joseph Campbell. I can't remember it for the life of me. I can't remember the name of it. There was a documentary about his influence on people, and they interviewed in this. I'll find the name and put it up on our links, where they interviewed a Hollywood director or a Hollywood screenwriter who had been screenwriting screenplays for years upon years and not found any traction whatsoever. And one of the reasons why, he said, was he would send out 3 or 4 of them and hear nothing back and get so discouraged that he would stop. And so, but after reading Joseph Campbell, this guy said, I realized I was probably going to make more of my own luck if I sent out 300 than if I sent out 3. So he sent out 300. 299 of them were turned down. And as he said, I only needed 1. He says, it's like finding a partner, right? You only got to find 1. You don't need 50. You just need to find 1.
Sure.
And as it turned out, this became a Oscar-winning screenplay, even though it was turned down by dozens upon dozens of places. I'm not telling the story really well. You'd think I would have a better, because everybody's wondering what it is. I don't remember what it is. It was a while ago. But that really cemented it for me. Like, okay, yes, you're going to create better chances for something the more you do something. So like with my book, I've been putting out query letters to potential agents and publishers for 3 years now. Nothing's happened. I've put out 172 as of today.
Oh, wow. 172.
172. And nothing has happened. So does that mean I'm unlucky? Or does that mean I need to do more? Right? I get to choose how I define that. And I've chosen to define it as I just need to keep going because all I need is 1.
Sure.
All I need is 1.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's just something that was there. And I think the key is something like you said at the top here, having optimistic expectations, right? And exposing yourself to opportunity more matters. And what were some of the ones you mentioned? Like people, you meet more people.
Sure. I mean, that was the idea, is just you put yourself out in the world in places and situations where, as we kind of joke, but like luck may hit you or find you, right? Like, but you're not going to find that at home. You have to go out places. You have to go out and do things. You have to meet people. You have to immerse yourself in the place that we live called the world. And it might be your little world where you have your routine places and whatnot, but maybe if you do those routines enough and you're like, okay, I think I have maximized what I can glean from these. That doesn't mean stop those, but maybe it means, you know, this coming weekend, instead of going to your routine coffee places, you travel a little bit further and go to a different one. You go have breakfast somewhere, or maybe you go on a hike, a sunrise hike, and then you meet people, you know, like you go places that you don't normally go.
Right.
And what you encounter at those times, you may think like, okay, I met some people and that was it, and went home, nothing happened. But you have to keep doing that stuff. Because if you don't, you know the answer.
Exactly.
But if you do, you don't know the answer.
I think there's other things too you can add into that. Even if you went to all the same places you normally do, take your headphones out. See what you notice that you wouldn't notice.
I don't wear headphones.
I know you don't. But a lot of people do.
Yes,
a lot of people do. So like,
put your phone away.
Put your phone away.
Shut off the screen of your Apple Watch. Turn off the notifications.
Because what happens if you're sitting in a coffee shop, your favorite coffee shop, you don't have headphones in, you hear conversations, you hear a voice you recognize, or you hear a topic you're interested in, or somebody looks at you and says, oh, they're accessible to talk to because they don't have their earphones in.
Well, and I think people they get so into their usual routines. I put my earbuds in, I turn on my favorite like audiobook or my favorite podcast, like Staying Power or whatever.
There you
And,
go.
and they get so focused on those things that they forget that when you're, like you said earlier, when you're tuning into something, you're tuning out of something else.
That's right.
And maybe you have tuned into something so long that it's time to tune out of it and try tuning into something else.
Yep. I mean, we really are talking about increasing probabilities, aren't we?
Sure.
Right? If you want to meet more people and make new friends, probability goes up if you go out and start talking to people, right?
The places where the people are, like
Right.
Ariel said from The Little Mermaid.
Right, exactly.
Where the people are.
Right, exactly. You do those things will happen. That's not magic.
No.
Right? That's just effort, right? And then that creates more of an opportunity for the things that we call lucky breaks, right? You also mentioned optimism, right? Needing to be optimistic. Because if you're optimistic about being out in the world, for example, and meeting people and seeing something interesting and you're curious, it's going to broaden your attention. It's going to increase your flexibility, right? Particularly your cognitive flexibility. And it enhances creativity. And it actually pushes us into those uncomfortable zones that are actually good for us, right? It's a good time for an update on everybody. Remember we talked about in our resolution episode where we talked about not resolutions for the New Year's. You were going to
meet somebody new every day.
I was going to introduce myself to somebody every day. I am still on target.
You're still meeting somebody new every day.
Introducing myself to somebody every day. And I have had some absolutely amazing interactions with some people, even if they were just super short. Yeah. I ended up having this amazing conversation with a young woman who was selling samples in the grocery store of stuff. It was just her job.
She's a vendor.
Yeah. But she was doing it as kind of to supplement school. So I asked her, how'd you start doing this? Oh, I was going to school. Where are you going to school? Long story short, we ended up having this conversation. I know her uncle. I went to school with her uncle. Now, I haven't talked to that guy in probably 20 years, but I was like, I got to tell him I said hi. And sure enough.
Funny.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that, right? You increase the probabilities of things happening the more we do those things, right? So these are some of the components, right, that I think are involved in this. Any thoughts on this so
I
far?
think my thoughts will wait till the next break.
Oh, that's right. Look at that not so subtle cue that I need to stop talking. All right, let's take our second break here on Staying Power. When we come back, we'll start talking about some of the practical steps that we can all do a little bit more, even though we've kind of talking about that since the
we
top.
got some more.
We'll kind of keep following through on that. I'll give you some ways to create your own luck around this St. Patty's Day. We'll be right back here on Staying Power.
Here's the deal. We gotta set ourselves up. See, retirement is the long game. We gotta make moves and make them early. Set up goals. Don't worry about a setback. Just save up and stack up to reach them. Let's put ourselves in the right position. Pre-game to greater things.
Start building your retirement plan at thisispretirement.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, JD, do you want to have a better life?
Yeah, doesn't everybody?
Yes, we do. How do I go about doing that?
A good place to start would be listening to our new show, Staying Power.
What's it about?
It's about all the ways we can overcome the challenges that we sometimes put in front of ourselves to live a better life.
Where can I find it?
You can listen to it on 1150 AM KKNW every Wednesday at 4 p.m. and Fridays at 9 a.m. or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's do this together every week on Staying Power.
Alternative Talk 1150 online at 1150kknw.com.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
Talking about making our own luck. It's been some good stuff here so far. I want to finish up with a couple of quick points, Ashley, and then let's talk about some other things. Here's some other information I think it's important to know. Another factor that's really important in all this is psychological resilience. People like Barbara Fredrickson and other researchers have identified lucky people as those who reframe setbacks. We mentioned that earlier. Who see setbacks as an opportunity to learn and do differently. So one avenue of opportunity doesn't work. You could see that as a setback or as a failure or unlucky, or you could just say, okay, that doesn't work. Let me apply myself somewhere else. And then they stay open to what can come from that. in that sense, as she said, is it bad luck or is it unfinished feedback?
Ooh, I like that. Unfinished feedback.
Unfinished feedback. Yeah, still got more to do. And then, of course, preparedness. We mentioned the Greeks, right? But the Roman writer Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. That, I think, is one of the more famous quotes that's out there about that. So what does that imply? That skill development matters. Consistently showing up and consistently having a good attitude. Repetition, right? Opportunity without preparation is going to feel like misfortune a lot of times, right? Sure. If you're not able to take advantage of it, right? And I think we all have examples in life where we look back on an opportunity that we weren't quite ready for. And we see it and it kind of passed us by, right? So it can be tough to frame that as unfinished feedback, but nevertheless, that's what it is. Okay, so Ashley, let's give people some tips, right? Okay. Let's kind of go back and forth. How to make your own luck.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Where would you start? What would you recommend?
I would start by getting out where the people are. No,
yes.
I mean, I say that tongue in cheek. I would say, first off, try and distinguish what it is in your life or what area in your life. Are you wanting more luck in general? Or is there something specific that you're like, oh, if I just had more luck or more opportunity or some goodness in a particular area of my life, what would it be? What would it look like? Because if you can design your own life and if you can create your own opportunities to an extent, you need to know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You need to know what you want.
Right. Right.
I would say that is like the very first step.
Absolutely. I agree. And
what if you get something that to you is just like, meh, but to you, it's like super lucky. It's like the biggest opportunity, you know, like, and then you're passing it by. And then the person next to you is like, how dare you let that pass by? Because that's a crazy opportunity. How could you not take? And you're like, well, I get those all the time. It's no big deal to me. So you need to know what's important to you.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And then I think from that, it becomes, okay, what new choices do I make to kind of spread out that opportunity? Right. So what's a reasonable thing to do in terms of doing a new event, right? Doing something new once a month, maybe something like that.
That would look like saying yes to more things.
It would.
Saying yes to something that doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, you've never done it. You
right.
think it's not fun because every time you saw it in other perspectives, it didn't look intriguing.
Right. Right.
But maybe you go to it and you're like, wow, this is actually cool. Or the people that I met were really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get invited to go hang out with somebody somewhere, for drinks, a bunch of people come together, go. It's a low risk invitation, right? Those types of things. You can also who have you not talked to in a while? Who can you reach out to and connect to? Right, do that. Kind of developing that peripheral vision. When you're this matters a lot. One of the things I've learned that is really powerful when you enter into a room, look around and really take in who's in there. Right? Who do you see? What do you do? It doesn't mean you're all creepy and stare at people, but take a good look and get a good sense of what's going on. For me, that's why I don't keep earphones in, right? When I'm doing things like this, because I want to hear what's going on. I want to see what's going on. I want my senses to inform me as to what's happening, and then also get a sense of the vibe there, right? In a conversation, ask a deeper question. We had an episode, coming not too long ago that was about asking better questions.
Yes,
this is a good opportunity to do that, right? Who have you not talked to?
Yes.
What else?
I like your comment that you mentioned about, when you walk in somewhere and let your senses really be aware and awake and to feed them, because, we've all walked into that room somewhere. And I'm thinking back in my early days, maybe it's where I went to a nightclub or something. And you're so full of opportunity, excitement. You're like, who am I going to meet? Who's going to be here? What's going to happen tonight? What are we going to order? And there's so much excitement around it. And it's don't lose that.
Yeah.
Take that with you into another place as much as you can. And I know life can kind of drag you down where that feels like you left it in your young juvenile days, but it doesn't have to be. You can still carry that when you walk into a new restaurant. Like, oh my gosh, I've never met any of these servers, more than likely, before. such an exciting moment. I'm going to have some interactions with some new people. I'm going to try some new food and a new environment I've never been, and everything smells great and everyone looks so awesome. And you can take it all in. And I bet you when you look at it from that perspective, as opposed to like, okay, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to buy this dinner. It's going to be overpriced. The food's going to be just subpar. I could have just made dinner at home. I don't know why I'm here. When you hear the two different perspectives, one sounds way more fun. The other one sounds like somebody I would not want to hang out with.
Yeah. And what stands out to me about what you're saying is that it's a choice.
Yes.
It's actually a deliberate choice.
How you choose to frame changes everything.
Optimism and expecting things to work out okay is not juvenile. It's not necessarily sentimental. It's not naive.
No. And I think when I had this at one point when I was younger, and sometimes I'm like, do I just have like a big like ego? But it's like I had this idea of like, like good things will happen because I'm a good person. I try and do good, all these things. And I'm like, so if good things happen to me, obviously they happen to me because like I'm doing good. I'm trying to be a light for people, and I'm trying to not to like, check the box, be like, look what I did, but because I want to have a positive impact and hopefully leave someone's day better than how I originally found it. And when I had that perspective, any good positive thing that came along, I was like, well, of course it happened because like good happens to me because I look for it. I expect it. I know it's going to come to me. And some people might kind of like, be like, oh, of course, and roll their eyes, but
that's what I mean. It's not naive.
It's not naive. Yeah. It's like acknowledging the good. And when you acknowledge the good, you continue to look for the good, and you become what you focus on. So if you're going to focus on the good and the opportunity and the lucky things, it will feel like you have more of them. And it is because you recognize them. If you think you're an unlucky person and nothing great happens to you, you will always find the bad. You'll always find the potholes that you fall into every time.
Absolutely. And an easy way to do this, to test this out, we're all familiar with the self-language of, oh, what's going to go wrong today? We are not as familiar with the self-language of, I wonder what's going to go right today.
I mean, some of us are.
Some of you are. Some of you are.
That's me.
But that it's more me now than it used to be, right? The assumption that something is always going to go wrong is really just a desire to avoid the discomfort and the pain of something going wrong, right? And giving it an enormous amount of power. But if you focus on what's going to go wrong today, you're going to be looking for it.
Sure. Well, and if you think you're expecting something to go wrong, it feels like you're bracing yourself. You've already disassociated and disconnected any emotional attachment at all because you're like, well, it's going to go wrong. It's going to be terrible. So I'm not going to be surprised when it goes wrong.
And you reinforce the very belief that brought you there in the first place. Something is going to go wrong. Therefore, now it did go wrong because I've been looking for a sign that something's going to go wrong. And it's going to reinforce my story that I'm an unlucky person. Yeah, exactly. So for those reasons, reframing what we consider to be bad luck really quickly is really important. To be able, when next time you catch yourself saying, oh, it's just bad luck, immediately kind of hold that up to the light. Pause for a minute and go, okay, well, wait a minute. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But if I want to frame this into an opportunity, a chance to learn something, right? A chance to find another opportunity, where might that be? I would hazard a guess, because it happened with me. When I stop and do that, I find things pretty quickly as far as a way to reframe it, right? I think that matters. And of course, I think you might agree, Ashley, doing this consistently, it takes consistent skill development to do this, right? Well, this is a day-by-day practice.
The first time you do it, if you're not used to it, it feels pompous.
Right.
It feels weird.
Or childish.
Well, you get this feeling of like, who am I to expect something like this, to look for something like this? I've, quote unquote, never really been a lucky person before, so why would it come to me now? Why me and why now? And those are normal feelings to have and normal thoughts to have invading in your brain. And it's okay to acknowledge them and then be like, well, we're just going to try something different today and we're going to try it on. And we might try it on for a few days.
Right.
And we'll see what happens.
Right.
But I think it starts there of like opening your mind and yourself to the opportunity of what else may happen. What else could happen.
That's very well said. you know what I'm sitting here smiling about while you're talking about this is I'm remembering when you came on to this podcast and that whole process of what went on and how that just for you came out of the blue. Right?
Yeah, for me, I felt very lucky.
Yeah, I felt very lucky. And it came out of the blue. And yet, without you knowing it, you had made that possible, right? Because conversations about where to go with the podcast were ongoing with you not even knowing about it, right?
Right.
And because you and I had developed a good friendship and we had both done the coaching program that we've talked about so often on here, right? I was the one who introduced you to that. You went and did it, right? And we talked a lot about that along the way. Without you knowing it and without me knowing it for a long time, that was creating opportunities that when this came up and conversations went, oh, wait, this is a great idea. We should bring Ashley on to this. When it arrived in front of you, without you knowing it and without me knowing it, we had been building towards that opportunity, that luck, for a really long time. Right?
That's such a good example. I mean, I remember that conversation about us going through, like you had gone through the coaching program and then you told me about it. And I was like, this totally resonates. I want to do this. And I did it. And then I think it was like at least 6 months or so later after I got my coaching certificate that this then came about of like, hey, you know, do you want to be a guest? Like, you know, and the conversations happened. And when I was doing my coaching program, like, did I think I would end up co-hosting a show? Absolutely not.
Right.
Did I want to have my own podcast when I was 21? Yes.
Which I didn't know about until at all.
I never told you about it. No.
And I didn't know that until I put the possibility in front of you and you lost your mind, as I recall.
Like, me? What? Yeah. Really? Yeah. And here we are, like a year and 10 months later, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Almost 2 years. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, just that was kind of that story that came to mind with all of this. And that's because we weren't necessarily looking for the opportunity to do a show together, but it worked out that way just because we were engaging with one another and engaging with, you know, this program that we both had familiarity with and all of that. And that just kind of set the tone and, you know, put all that together, which is great about it. So a few reflections here as we finish up, Ashley, on this. Some questions that I think that we can ask. Where have we blamed luck in the past instead of evaluating our strategy?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a really good reflective question.
Yeah. What if it is all about reevaluating your strategy and not really about luck? Reevaluating your mindset. Maybe that's the strategy. Saying what could go right today as opposed to what could go wrong. Other questions. What skill am I quietly building? Or do you want to? Right? For some people, it's getting out and meeting more people, stepping out into uncomfortable situations.
I mean, you do have to come to a resolution with that within yourself of like, oh, I want this thing. Well, that will require something of me because I have done everything I've always known and I've gotten this far in life. And if I want to get further, I probably need to change something. If I want to get luckier, I want to have more opportunity, more goodness, I need to do something. To bring more in. To do that.
Luck loves movement. It really does, right? And we always hear the phrase opportunity knocks. You know, opportunity knocks. Yeah. I heard somebody once say opportunity doesn't knock, it actually circulates, which is an interesting idea. That it's always floating around out there, right? And it kind of moves around and keeps coming back. Right?
I was going to say, does it knock or like, are you supposed to open the door and invite it in when it's passing by?
Maybe, or just be stepping outside so you see it come by. What was it you said? Step out into it and let it hit you?
Yeah.
I kind of just have this vision of like standing out in the rain and like.
Okay, so I have a different vision.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Is it Lucky Charms flying at you?
No, but kind of. If anyone ever played any of the Super Mario games and have like the invincibility star and it touches you and you're invincible. Yes. You're like running around. You can do everything. And all of a sudden you notice you play the game different.
You do.
Because you are untouchable and unstoppable. So you're like, oh, I'm going to do all this crazy stuff and I'm going to just like whiz through the level. And you do. Because all of a sudden it took one thing. Now it gave you opportunity, right? You can't be killed while you're playing the game.
But you
can't
shouldn't
die.
just stand there with it.
Right,
when you get
You don't want to
should
sit
take
there and be like,
advantage
wow,
of it.
I look so shiny and pretty. It's like you take advantage of the opportunity. And usually when you get it, you like run full force through the game. And it's like, why can't we have that same excitement when we feel like we've gotten a little star?
That's perfect. That is perfect. That's a great example. Excellent example. We're just going to end right on that note. Now that I got the Super Mario Brothers song stuck in my head.
You're welcome.
So anyway, Ashley, thank you so much for this. This was a fun conversation.
This is great.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you so much to all of you for checking out this episode of Staying Power. Remember, if you missed any of this episode and like to catch up on our other episodes, you can get Staying Power as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Staying Power Show. You can also find out more about us at our radio home, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. At all of those locations, you can find show notes. You can find ways to communicate with us, primarily our email, stayingpowershow@gmail.com, as well as how to find us on social media. More is on the horizon, and we're excited to share it with you. We will be back next week to talk another way we can build a better life, and we hope we will see you then. I am JDK Winnick.
And I'm Ashley Knievel.
All right, enjoy, everybody. Eat Lucky Charms.
Bye.
Boop, 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 boop.